Good morning, and thanks for joining the second day of the Mobile Mug. We appreciate you guys all joining the sessions yesterday and looking forward to a great session today and also some demo time as well. So with that, I will just kick it over to Scott from Skookum to start the presentation.
Hey, thanks, Joe. Yeah, so today we're going to talk about leveraging mobility with a technician workforce, and John I. Frady, who is our senior architect, will be talking about how to configure and expand mobile on an enterprise level. Zach is with Interpro. He'll be talking some of the key features with that product. In my role as a functional typist to talk kind of how that was implemented at Skookum. So who is Skookum? We'll get to that point. The agenda is here, overview, EZMax overview by Zach, and then we'll walk through some of those implementation pieces. Would like to make a plug. There is a mobile user group affiliated with the utilities working group. So for anyone interested in participating in there, Janie Mann is the leader of that. We're always looking for client presentations, so there's a link there. It's a good group. So who is Skookum? We are a service provider. We operate a lot with what's called Ability One, where we hire a number of veterans, people with disability, largely on federal contracts. We do compete for those. We also bid on work in the commercial side. So we do, we're kind of spread out across the US. Half of us do infrastructure maintenance, mostly maintaining military bases. And then the other half does janitorial grounds, logistics, and a small aerospace group. We are heavy into mobile, as you can see by that license count. Majority of our users are mobile. Skookum did start the Maximo mobility path about 10 years ago, as shown there. It has built it up over time. We've learned a lot from other companies, but as you'll hear, it's really a journey. You're never done. There's challenges, but they are solvable. And we were fortunate enough to win a couple awards shown to the left. Proud partner with Interpro. So here's some basic demographics. You can see number of veterans, people with disability, both including combat veterans. So before I turn over to Zach, mobility is hard. I've been with Maximo a long time, seen mobile evolve. The software has now gotten to a point where it's definitely, it works with offline mode, etc. Couldn't really say that maybe 10 years ago. That said, there's a lot of hype about it. The reality, there's a lot of ways to go sideways. Text saying, hey, I'm faster with paper. Why are you making me enter on an iPad? I've got a real job. Managers that aren't involved with understanding mobile and optimizing it for the workforce. Could have had a failed project. You're starting a second one. So it's not easy, and it really does take everybody on board, IT, system people, technician leads, managers. So having an easy software solution matters, and let me turn that over to Zach.
All right, thanks, Scott, appreciate it. So I just want to give everyone a quick high-level overview of what EZMax Mobile is and some of the things that we're working on with Skookum, but I'll certainly try to keep this brief so we can move it over to John afterwards. But from a high level, EZMax Mobile is a online and offline mobile solution. It's a hybrid application, so you really get the best of both worlds, from easy deployment, but also easy to configure, easy to customize, but also tie into the powerful native application capabilities on a mobile device. So right out of the box, we have over 25 of the base Maximo modules already mobilized. Very streamlined Maximo functionality with things like dynamic start centers, guided Maximo workflows. We have a very powerful integration with Esri's ArcGIS server right out of the box for all of your mapping use cases. Everything that we do, whenever it's coming from Maximo, it's very easy to trickle down into mobile. And we're also able to deliver a lot of that functionality in a completely disconnected mode, which is still a very important aspect of a lot of people's organizations. Our sync capability for offline mode is actually patented sync technology. Really, it's very fast, allows you to download a lot of data very quickly. And it's a very integratable system. We've got a lot of clients that have other external systems like SAP, PeopleSoft, Pi, etc. And we've done integrations with EZMax Mobile to those systems as well. From a native application perspective, you're able to do things like photo, video, file uploads, photo editing, barcode scanning, barcode generation, push notifications, and even digital signatures as well. Scott, next slide, please. Some of the benefits I want to talk about briefly. It's a very easily supported and maintained application, and the reason that I say that is we use a very similar technology stack as core Maximo. It's HTML5 and JavaScript for screen changes, Java for business logic changes. Your mobile security is actually maintained through your Maximo security groups, so whatever security settings you already have set up in Maximo are going to trickle down into EZMax Mobile automatically, so you don't have to maintain security settings in two different places when essentially you've got users that are just doing the same functionality, whether it's in Maximo or in EZMax Mobile. And we also have a single application strategy, which means we just have the one native application that's targeted towards your internal workforce. So whether they're trying, your internal workforce is trying to do a P2P process, whether they're just trying to do work order execution, inventory, asset management, they're all logging into EZMax Mobile, and then they're able to go to the appropriate module based on their security permissions. And we also have a very high rate of user adoptions at all of our deployments. And again, the reason I say that is because the user interface is very intuitive. It's streamlined. We spend a lot of time in-house with our in-house design team, functional experts, trying to make sure that the software is easy to use, it's streamlined, and it makes sense. And there's also very consistent user experience across all the platforms that we support. So our software is device and platform agnostic across Android, iOS, and Windows, and you're going to get that same user experience across that board there. And also, just going back to the high rate of user adoption, the other key component there is that we mobilize a lot of familiar Maximo elements. So things that your workforce might already be accustomed to, like Maximo start centers, the go-to menu, select action menu, Maximo workflows, those sorts of inspection forms, those sorts of functionalities are all mobilized into EZMax Mobile. And also, I think it's worth calling out here, just in terms of where we are as IBM heads towards MAS 8. I want to make it clear that EZMax Mobile is ready to support MAS 8 as well. So we're fully compatible with MAS 8 should you ever move in that direction in the next 12, 18, 36 months. Next slide, please, Scott. And lastly, I want to talk a little bit about another mobile application that we have that's similar to EZMax Mobile, but the main difference here, it's managing your extended workforce. So any service vendors that are on demand or on site most of the time that you might have working for you in some capacity, you still push work to them, but you don't necessarily have insight into who's on site, what they're doing, what they did. EZMaxVendor is a mobile application that is geared towards managing that external workforce, whereas EZMax Mobile is more for the internal workforce. And this is an application that we're looking to work with Skookum on in the future for a POC at one or two of their sites. See if we can make this a very powerful use case for them. But essentially the application, aside from just getting that vendor technician information, it's allowing you to go through the full process of negotiation with your service vendors in terms of what do you need them to do, how much is it going to cost, when do you need them to come on site, is it a service that they even provide? Having that back and forth negotiation all streamlined through our cloud-based EZMaxVendor app is very helpful for a lot of our customers. You can also do basic Maximo functionality, things like adding in work logs, inspection forms, labor, parts, the basics from that perspective. But you've also got enhanced functionality from a perspective of managing service level agreements or KPIs with your vendors, so you can get a better sense of what has their performance been over time. And we have a configurable dashboard within our cloud component of EZMaxVendor that allows you to keep an eye on that target with you, that shared target with your vendor, so you can compare their performance to other vendors as well. and make sure that you're all marching to the same beat. So that was all I wanted to cover here. I'm going to kick it over to John Iafredi, the Senior Software Architect and Development Manager at Skookum.
Great, thank you, Zach. So architecting mobility, in the planning phase prior to deploying mobility at Skookum, there were two areas we wanted to focus on. One was our Maximo platform, and the second was people. For our platform, our first goal was business alignment between our different Maximo sites. So that included evaluating and standardizing business process, business functionality in Maximo across key areas like work and asset management, time and payroll, and logistics. So the objective was to standardize the core configuration, and the reason is this would increase sustainability long-term for us and make it easier to deploy new integrations, bolt-on solutions, whether it be like Power BI or Workday, our HR financial payroll system. So it was important for us to think long-term. Going live with a new feature or a new integration isn't the end of the project. You have to maintain that solution once it's live. So the more components you integrate, the more complicated the platform becomes. So minimizing exotic solutions on a site-by-site basis was important for us. So this concept we call the 80-20 model, where 80% of our configuration is standardized across all of Maximo, and we consider this our global functionality. The other 20% makes up site-specific requirements. Each of our sites do have their own customer, their own contract and requirements, so it is important we recognize the specific needs of each business unit. Having this model in place before deploying mobility was key. It allowed us to standardize the integration between EZMax Mobile and our core configuration. And when the time came to deploy mobile to additional sites, the majority of the work was already in place. The second strategy we focused on was people, and there's really three distinct groups to mention. The first is your functional SMEs. These are your most knowledgeable end users. Their feedback is critical. At the end of the day, they're the ones using mobility, so it's important you make them one of your stakeholders. Involving some of the lead functional users early on in your project plan, whether it's for testing or feedback, it'll go a long way towards user adoption when you do go live. The second group are your business partners, so they'll be providing focused support for the specific areas of your project. For example, here at Skookum, we use Project for our cloud hosting solution, and we work with Interpro for EZMax Mobile, for example. The third group is your technical team. So this is your IT department or Maximo team if you have a dedicated Maximo team. This group, of course, will support your day-to-day Maximo requests, tickets, report changes, and is typically the point of contact for your business partners. The last bullet point there I'll mention is the cross-functional groups. What we did is we actually took certain members of each of the core three groups and blended them into a cross-functional group. And they periodically got together to tackle certain issues or certain topics. And this ended up with some great solutions out of those discussions, since we had users from different groups with different perspectives tackling a shared topic. Okay, next slide, please. So let's talk about our pilot project, which was mobility in 2013 at Fort Lee, Virginia. So Fort Lee, they're one of our larger total facility maintenance contracts on the East Coast. And in 2013, since this was our first deployment with mobility, we went live with a focused set of features and expanded the capabilities as time went on. Starting smaller allowed us to dial in the key features early on with the technicians, which did help with adoption, and it minimized the overall change factor. So as Fort Lee began to use mobility, we quickly started identifying opportunities for process improvement, wrench time gains, overall data visibility, and we have some of those listed here on the slide. Now, once we started to capture data real time out in the field, a lot of opportunities opened up for reporting. One example is our work order status backlog Power BI report that's there on the slide. But we have others not only for work order management, but for asset management and logistics as well. Power BI is accessible on mobiles, and you can configure reports specifically for it, so it makes a good companion tool. For asset data capture, this was dramatically improved with mobility. So no more clipboards, no more paper checklists. We were able to start capturing and validating data out in the field with information like asset specifications, meter readings for utility assets, for example, or readings on run hours for generators, and filling out our e-form checklists. Now, this was 2013, which was before inspection forms. So at the time, we did have to implement a internal forms solution that would work on mobility. And this feature helped us bridge the gap with all the unstandardized paper checklists that were being used and the forms that were being filled out. E-forms for us, we still use it today for quality in other areas, but we are reviewing inspection forms. With EZMaxMobile in particular, you can capture digital signatures like Zach mentioned on the mobile device. And this is really important for some of our environmental forms and instances where we need to capture a signature from the customer. We also do a large volume of filter changes at Fort Lee, so we've been able to automate that process in Maximo using job plans and plan material. But with EZMaxMobile, we actually are able to send mobile push notifications to the technicians when their parts get received. We've gotten really good feedback on that. And this feature has helped speed up the feedback loop between when parts are ordered and when they arrive, which has eliminated unnecessary phone calls and trips to the warehouse. Training module, this was a configuration we set up in-house. Essentially, we configured a PM record to generate a monthly safety and training work order by shop that would be auto-assigned to technicians. And essentially, technicians could log in on the iPad, access their work order, see their linked attachments on the iPad, and do that digital signature to indicate that they attended training or they understood the training. And the safety and training program really has enjoyed that. For quality is important for us here at Skookum. It's one of our core values. Utilizing our e-form solution and some additional capability that we built to do randomized work order selection. The QCs can log in on the iPads, select a work order, go to the job site and do their inspection, all without paper. And because of this, we're able to build an entire quality inspection program based around mobility, which is really neat. And then finally is IQ, so the construction projects, which is a large piece of what we do at Fort Lee. So we do have a cloned work order application that does support IQ specific work orders and business process, and that's made available as well on the iPads. All right, and at this point, I'll turn it back over to Scott.
Hey, thanks, John. Yeah, just a quick comment. The platform capability is really important. We're fortunate to work with Project and Aquitas. Performance, reliability, enhancements, big deal. And that allows us to focus on the functionality with it being cloud hosted. So I'm going to quickly talk about the next evolution where we did deploy at Naval Air Station Whidbey Island. I was the site manager there, so I have a vested interest in that. But it's located a couple hours north of Seattle. 24 Navy squadrons fly out of there. Quite a bit of profile, utilities, buildings, fleet. So as John mentioned, the platforms there can spawn off a new site within that service provider partition fairly efficiently. When we go live with the new contract, you basically have everybody on board for a weekend. So we did do a 2-hour training on an iPad. Most of those 100 techs were used to paper. Very few of them had used a mobile device for maintenance. Nearly all of them had a smartphone. So our metric on the bottom right was how many iPads are going to get smashed in the first 60 days. It was kind of a bell curve adoption. Some people picked it up very quickly. Others kind of watched the early adopters, and then you had some that really, I have no desire to use an iPad. After 60 days and knowing they get paid through their hour entries, it was accepted by nearly all. First year was really focused on getting core capability online and then adding advanced capability. So due to time, we will do a screenshot demo. Yeah, I know that's kind of weak, but we only have a few minutes here. So prior to going live, it was a paper world. You know, Jason here, fire system lead, doing hangar inspection, would get a PM work order on paper, have to go look up info in a manual library, assigning text, follow-up work order, requesting parts, all was paper-based. And the problem with that, a lot of leads, managers, techs are chasing paper. They're waiting for approvals. Wrench time is lower than it should be. And then downstream things like logistics, planned maintenance, reliability are kind of hindered by non-digital information. So in the new world, you know, this is a real work order, you know, gets a PM work order on his iPad in EZMax, can look up all the history from that work order, or if he's in the field, zap a QR tag to bring up asset information. We do give our techs quite a bit of autonomy. It's a little different than, say, a manufacturing or refinery where it's a lot more controlled. A lot of them operate, you know, somewhat independent by shop. So he has the ability to add a technician on the iPad to support a project or work order. Each tech that's on there has to write in a note, which gets to our clients, add their hours. That gives us the history. You know, he can also assign another shop to support where it might have been an unplanned activity, initiate a follow-up work order, order parts, get alerts along the ways, and we also send alerts to our customer at different stages. So that really allows improved wrench time. As an example, trying to find the building manager to sign off a work order in the old day versus an auto email with the complete tech notes eliminates that, you know, 15-minute adventure. So I'm going to talk a couple of these. We have time remaining. So it's really about practical nuggets or magnets that your techs need, which to do their job better, not just feed the beast by entering data. Let's give them some information that they need. And we're not the most sophisticated. Like I said, we've stolen ideas from willing clients like Princeton, SeaTac, Southern. So link documents, in the olden day, they would come into this crowded library, try to find a binder, find it, you know, here's the generator O&M manual. In the new way, you know, we actually parse all those. Most of them had CDs, so parse them into PDFs, put them on OneDrive or SharePoint, put a link on the mobile app that points to that building folder so the tech in the field can reach those documents. There are third-party products that does that better. This was our low-cost method. You do have to be connected to do that. Probably the hardest one is purchase requests. So in the olden day, we actually deployed with this 15-step process to order a part. Red dots are the tech, purple is the warehouse, yellow is the buyer. Our technicians weren't really happy with that. So hey, we'd like to order like Amazon. So we did partner with a company called Veris or BuyerQuest that Southern had utilized before us, and worked with P2 Insight on the integration. But from the Maximo PR now, you know, they will hit punch out to marketplace. Most of our discounted catalogs are here. So if it's hosted data, they can do a search, you know, keyword, look up, in this case, some pump that they want to use for that project, see cost, you know, delivery time, select one of those, and then select other parts either through a punch out or another hosted search. And then that transfers back to the PR, and the buyer now has some quality data to order from. So, you know, that did deploy in 2020. There are some challenges like getting all your catalogs together, but that was a process that impacted our techs quite a bit. The last one I'll talk about is small things in the field. So, you know, we need our techs to update asset inventory dynamically, and there's several types of situations. A new portable generator showed up that we're supposed to be maintaining. It's not in the system, so our tech will initiate a service request, take a photo of the nameplate, goes to a back office data operator who enters it in, puts a QR tag on while they're there, and puts the tag ID in the SR. We have assets that are in the system but not tagged. They're expected to find that using a smart search and then put a QR tag on that. Ultimately, all visible assets should have a QR tag, so we know, okay, it's in the system. We can zap it, pull up information quickly. Now that you have assets properly identified and easily tagged to, let's say, a corrective maintenance work order, you can now do things like a bad actor BI view. This is a number of assets, different shops. So because they've tagged the asset to the CM work order, we know the historical CM cost, CM count, condition, and then from that BI view, John actually built a link where we can punch up the exact Maximo asset record and drill down into it. So this is fairly, I'll say low cost, but it makes a difference. So that is the presentation. I think we've got a few minutes left. Zach, I don't know if you've been monitoring questions.
Yeah, there was one question. There was one question that came in. Was what was the elapsed time for the proof of concept pilot at the initial site? From requirements, design, development, implementation. So yeah, that was the one question that came in.
And John, if you could tackle that.
Yeah, absolutely. So for our pilot project at Fort Lee, we actually implemented it in stages. So our first pilot, we specifically chose one particular shop, and that was a 30-day cycle. And then as we rolled that out, we moved from one shop to the next, and then the next shop and the next shop. So over the course of I want to say 6 to 7 months, we rolled it out fully to the entire site.
Very good. So I think we're up on the time limit. Joe, I think we're complete unless there's any follow-up questions.
Yep, I was giving another second or two to see if any other questions rolled in, but it looks like no one's submitting them just yet. But with that, yeah, we'll wrap up the session here. As I mentioned, and I sent out an email yesterday, there was a little bit of a change in the agenda, so now we have a break until the demo time starts at 12:05. The demo you want to sit in, in the description on the landing page where you join each session, that's the link you'll want to click. You won't want to actually join the session as you've been doing with all these other ones. You'll want to click that link in the description, and that'll take you to the specific meeting room for each vendor to see the demo. And with that, it does look like there was one more question that rolled in. Does the mobile device need to be in a connected mode to access the OM?
And I'm assuming that's the digital documents or operational manuals. And the answer is yes, that's a live link. It doesn't work in offline mode, as well as that marketplace punch out. That's also has to be in live mode. And that's a key issue. I think everybody's aware of. How do you get good coverage at your site? Wi-Fi repeaters, many have to use offline mode. So techs, we're pretty cognizant, trying to expand that and, try to reduce offline mode.
And just to jump piggyback on that answer, Scott, for mobile devices in terms of whether they need to be connected to access documents, for Skookum's example, where they're punching out to a one link or a OneDrive link, they do need to be connected because that's a live link out. It's essentially like trying to punch out to a website. But in general, EZMaxMobile does support download of Maximo doc links and documents. So if you have If you're using attachments using the standard Maximo dock links functionality, EZMax Mobile does support downloading those attachments for viewing in offline mode. But if you're trying to punch out to a manufacturer website or to just some other link, that requires a connection.
Perfect. All right. Well, we appreciate your time, and we'll see everybody in the demo sessions.
Thanks, everybody.
Hey, thanks.